Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, has just taught investors another masterclass. Right before his 95th birthday and planned retirement, he suddenly dropped $1 billion to go all in on U.S. homebuilder stocks. This news sent many people into a frenzy. Some viewers are saying he's finally losing his touch, warning everyone about the housing market at the beginning of the year only to turn around and buy $1 billion worth himself. But others are convinced he must see a major turning point for real estate just around the corner. To be honest, the current housing market looks incredibly bleak to many. Could this be Buffett's final fatal misstep? But I have to wonder, is there another possibility? What if he's right this time? If he is, it would be his final and perhaps greatest lesson to the world, proving once and for all that the oracle is always the oracle. In this episode, we'll take a look at which housing stocks made Buffett greedy again, what kind of market shift he sees coming, and what new insights this offers for our own home buying and investment strategies. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video. Your support is my biggest motivation to keep creating new content. Warren Buffett's most famous investment philosophy is, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. The fact that he's pouring $1 billion into housing stocks right now tells us one thing. The current real estate market has everyone terrified. And that fear is justified. Right now, the U.S. housing market is facing three major crises. Fear number one, the unsellable house. According to Redfin, there are over 1.9 million homes currently listed for sale across the country. However, there are only about 1.4 million active buyers. This means at least 500,000 sellers are stuck without a buyer. As some have put it, it's a living hell for sellers right now. They're trapped in their properties with no way out. Fear number two, doubled interest rates. Many viewers have told me how much they miss 2021. Those were the good old days. At that time, the lowest mortgage rates were around 2%. Today, we're at 6.5%, more than double what it was. This is a huge reason why no one is buying homes, which connects back to our first fear. Fear number three, the dying breaths of builders. The average cost to build a new home is at least $10,000 more expensive than it was last year. Earlier this year, I shared a story about my own renovation project. The contractor I hired, a gentleman in his 60s, was out on the construction site setting up scaffolding himself. He told me he simply couldn't find any workers. So imagine what the big home builders are going through. If they raise prices, the houses won't sell. If they lower prices, they lose their profit margin. It's a nightmare scenario that's keeping them up at night. So, as Buffett watched the stock prices of America's home builders plummet, he saw an opportunity. The new question is, beyond just buying low, what perfect turning point did he see that made him confident in holding these stocks for the long term? With Buffett announcing his retirement by the end of the year, everyone is watching his final investment moves. When he sells, many follow. When he buys, many follow. His newest acquisitions are likely where he sees big future profits, and everyone wants to learn his secret. His recent bet on healthcare is a classic example that is very relevant for those in the real estate industry. You might remember when the CEO of United Health was attacked, causing the company's stock to plummet by almost half. Buffett swooped in and bought the dip. Similarly, his move into housing stocks involves the top two home builders in the United States, D.R. Horton and Lennar. D.R. Horton's stock had dropped by nearly 40%, and Lennar's was also down significantly. Once again, Buffett started buying. Of course, many are criticizing this as a terrible move. They argue that healthcare is a necessity, but with the current market, who is buying houses? I think we should take a closer look at these two companies. They both build and sell homes, so why did they specifically catch Buffett's eye? Let's start with D.R. Horton. We've talked about them before. They are the largest home builder in the U.S., headquartered in Texas. Over the past decade, they've become number one with a simple two-part strategy: speed and price. They build houses as quickly as possible and sell them cheap, which makes them very popular with investors. Many of my viewers who ask for consulting on investment properties are interested in D.R. Horton because their low entry cost allows investors to scale their portfolios quickly. Next is Lennar. Before D.R. Horton became number one, Lennar held that title. Their strength is diversity and flexibility. They build everything from starter homes to high-end properties and are masters of using incentives like rate buydowns, upgrade packages, and early closing bonuses. Their goal is to outmaneuver their competitors and simply survive. As long as they can hold on, they know the spring of the housing market will return. In reality, every time the housing market goes through a cyclical crisis, a lot of builders go bankrupt. The ones that survive usually do so through one of two strategies, either by acquiring competitors and using economies of scale, like D.R. Horton, or by using flexible sales tactics to rapidly expand, like Lennar. By now, you should have realized Buffett isn't just buying shares in two companies. He's investing in the two core strategies that will allow these companies to survive the winter and thrive in the next cycle, making him a fortune in the process. The new question is, when will the real estate market finally get through this winter? Has Buffett already seen signs that the next spring is just around the corner? Many people overcomplicate the math of buying a house, but it doesn't have to be that hard. For a primary residence, it's even simpler. You only need to calculate one thing: your monthly carrying cost, which is mainly your mortgage payment. Let's take an example using the US median home price of around $450,000. With a 20% down payment and a 30-year mortgage at 3.5%, your monthly payment would have been at $1,600. But with today's 6.5% interest rate, that same mortgage would cost you over $2,200 a month. That extra $660 a month might not seem like a lot, but it adds up to over $7,000 a year. For an average family, that's not a small amount of money. For some, that's their child's tuition. So the reason people aren't buying homes right now isn't because they don't want to. The demand is still there. The interest rates are just too high. If the real estate market is going to see another spring, it won't be because we build a ton of new houses or because prices drop. It will be because interest rates come down. Buffett's decision to invest in D.R. Horton and Lennar at this specific moment is not just about their business models. He must see a perfect market opportunity, which is that he is betting on the Federal Reserve to start cutting interest rates after September. Remember, Buffett has always said he's not a big fan of owning physical real estate. It has poor liquidity and a very slow rate of return. But being bullish on a home builder stock is a completely different story. A home building company is a vehicle for making him money. And what does the stock market love? Good news about interest rates. A rate cut lowers financing costs for builders, which means their quarterly earnings reports will look great and their stock will go up. That's how the Oracle makes money. Of course, some might argue that the upcoming rate cut will just be a symbolic gesture from Fed Chairman Powell, maybe 25 basis points at most, a drop in the bucket. That small of a cut won't be enough to save the builders, who will have to hold on until next spring for the market to truly warm up. But you have to understand how the stock market works. It's more focused on future hope than present reality. A rate cut in September, no matter how small, signals the start of a new economic cycle. Even if the first cut is tiny, it shows that rates have peaked and are heading down. This will slowly bring more buyers back into the market. And don't forget, builders have many financial tools at their disposal. They can use rate buydowns to amplify the effect of a small Fed rate cut, making their homes more attractive to buyers. We can take this line of thinking even further. Interest rates only affect the short-term market, but Buffett's investments are always focused on the long term. So, he must have a deeper understanding of the long-term returns in the real estate sector. We've previously discussed the views of Buffett's lifelong friend and partner, Charlie Munger, on real estate. The two titans had completely different approaches. Munger didn't just invest in stocks, he loved to play the real estate game. Many people couldn't understand why Munger liked real estate when Buffett famously called it one of the worst investments due to the hassle of maintenance and low returns. But Buffett never stopped Munger. He said that in his later years, Munger was buying houses everywhere. This brings us to a point that many find confusing. Why would Buffett, after Munger's passing, first reiterate his dislike for real estate at his shareholder meeting, calling it a money-losing asset, only to turn around a few months later and throw $1 billion at home builders? Some viewers have suggested that these big-time investors are just secretive and don't want to reveal their true intentions. If they told all the retail investors what they were planning, everyone would rush in and drive up the price, and they wouldn't be able to buy at the bottom. But I'd like to offer another explanation from a real estate development and market analysis perspective. See if this makes sense to you. Buffett isn't just buying a housing stock. He's buying into the massive US housing shortage of the next decade. In our last episode, we discussed the relationship between housing inventory and prices. A viewer asked, if there's a housing shortage, how many houses are we actually short by? And how many years will it take to close that gap? That is the perfect question because it gets to the heart of the investment. As long as there is a gap between demand and supply, there is value in the investment. According to Freddie Mac, as of right now, the US is short by about 3.8 million housing units. Some estimates even put it at 5 million. Let's round it to a 4 million unit deficit. How long will it take to close that gap? The answer is nobody knows. You heard that right. Nobody knows because it's impossible to calculate precisely. All we can do is make a rough estimate based on existing construction industry data. Let's go back to our example from the last episode about Madison, Wisconsin. We looked at the official data. The city plans to build 15,000 new homes between 2025 and 2030 to meet local demand, which means at least 3,000 new homes per year. But more than halfway through 2025, they've only built a little over 1,200. They're still short by 1,800 units, and winter is coming. As an architect, I can tell you that winter construction is not ideal. Is it absurd that they can't even complete their targets? Yes, but it's the reality. So a 2035 plan might get pushed to 2040 or even 2050. Just look at how long California's high-speed rail has been delayed, 20 or 30 years. So the long-term value that Buffett is talking about isn't greed for housing prices. It's greed for that future housing shortage. What new insights does this offer for our own home buying and investment strategies? Many people have very different value-based views on real estate. Some viewers say, even if everything else crashes, as long as we have a house, it's better than speculating on crypto and losing everything. At least we still have a house. This is a tangible asset-based value system. But other viewers say real estate is a burden. What era are we living in? You can buy stocks, futures, or even crypto now. You'll make so much more than those old-fashioned house slaves. No matter which viewpoint you hold, I think you can find some answers in Buffett's investment strategy. First, let's acknowledge that Buffett himself has admitted he really doesn't like dealing with houses. He's lived in the same old house his whole life. He doesn't buy land or flip houses. He treats his primary residence as a necessity, a tool for living. I think this is a great approach. Even though I'm an architect and I love building, renovating, and transforming houses because of the sense of accomplishment it brings, I strongly dislike institutional speculation on housing. I think it's incredibly unfair and even cruel to ordinary families who just want to live a peaceful life. If you, like Buffett, just want to live comfortably in a good home, that's a wonderful thing. A house is a tool for life. Second, just because you don't like dealing with houses doesn't mean you can't invest in the companies that build them and let them make money for you. Don't fall into the trap of black and white thinking. A house is for living in, yes, but that doesn't mean the companies that build them can't be a good investment. They are two different things. But your choice of company is crucial. Real estate is a highly competitive, saturated industry. 20 years ago, when I first started working, there were still many small local builders who built homes for generations of local families. But starting about 10 years ago, as the financial markets evolved and consolidation began, the industry changed. Only the top builders could survive through mergers and acquisitions. If you were a small builder who focused on quality, the result was often that your quality was better, but your costs were higher. Your service was better, but in the end, you probably got acquired by D.R. Horton or Lenner. Whether you accept it or not, that's the reality of building good houses today. It's ironic, but it's true. So, you have to be clear-headed and understand that when you're investing in a home builder, you need to look for the ones that can continue to expand and survive. The two companies Buffett invested in represent the two winning strategies, one based on scale and low cost, and the other on a diverse product line and aggressive marketing. These two ultimate players have solidified their positions at the top. The Matthew effect, the rich get richer, is in full play. The third and, in my opinion, most important lesson from Buffett is his lifelong adherence to his core investment principles. He's almost 95 and about to retire, but his actions are still consistent with his words. For example, many people say Buffett doesn't invest in crypto and has missed out on a huge opportunity because he's an old man who's out of touch. I don't think that's the case. He has probably studied all kinds of cryptocurrencies and compared them to his own investment analyses. In the end, investing is the art of elimination. If his personality is to be fearful when others are greedy, then it makes sense that he would avoid cryptocurrency right now. And if it's to be greedy when others are fearful, then it makes sense that he would buy into healthcare and real estate stocks when they've been beaten down. Doesn't this prove that he is the one who is truly consistent and has never deceived us? He invests in the scarce gap. What do you think? I chose this topic today because when I got back from my business trip last week, a viewer commented, "Buffett is going all in on real estate. You have to talk about this. What is that old man thinking?" So in closing, I want to share some insights from inside the construction industry. If you're only interested in crypto or stocks, you can skip this part. What follows is just some candid talk. I believe part of the reason Buffett is investing in home builders is a long-term, non-financial consideration related to the entire industry supply chain. What I mean is that the physical housing stock in the US has reached the end of its maintenance life cycle. Many houses are so old and worn out that it's no longer worth it to invest in renovating them. The cost and structural difficulty are just too high to be a worthwhile large-scale investment. That's why many large institutions would rather have a builder construct new build-to-rent communities than buy old houses. Old houses are just not worth the investment. It's similar to the logic of a rental car company. Old cars have high maintenance costs and a greater risk of breaking down, so they are sold off before they become completely useless. Home builders and the real estate market are the same. But the new construction market compared to the old housing market is always a breath of fresh air. There's more technological innovation, new materials and equipment, and improved construction techniques. I know many of you have traveled the world and think that American construction is rough and the quality control is poor compared to developed countries like Germany and Japan. But you have to remember that the quality of life in Japan and Germany is also much more refined than the US American life is more rugged, and the construction industry reflects that local demand. It's not that Americans can't build good houses, it's that most people don't need such refined homes. But even so, the new residential construction industry in the US is still adopting a lot of new technologies. Don't think that just because Buffett is old, he doesn't understand real estate or construction. Don't forget, he has his own real estate company and has acquired a major home builder in the past. He's been involved in the actual construction process. He knows what he's doing. His investment strategy isn't just about buying stocks. It's about acquiring and operating businesses in conjunction with stock investments. He plays the whole game. So my understanding is that his business empire, if you look at all the companies he's acquired, is like a miniature version of the entire US industrial supply chain. He's not just investing in the real estate sector. He's investing in the entire construction industry and its related supply chains. It's about the whole ecosystem. So when a viewer commented yesterday that Buffett is back on the right track with real estate stocks, I don't think he's coming back to it. I think he was just waiting for the right market opportunity. He probably sees a lot more than we do. But from our analysis, the simplest and most understandable point is this: the housing shortage needs to be filled by new homes. Who builds new homes? The builders. And only the top builders will have the money and financing capacity to survive and build those homes, which will make money for Buffett. Naturally, the total market value of these builders will increase, and Buffett will be even more bullish on them. As long as the housing shortage exists, there will always be a need to build new homes. I think this housing gap probably won't be filled in Buffett's lifetime. With the speed of construction in the US, this is truly a long-term investment. I welcome you to share your thoughts on Buffett's investment in America's top home builders and his strategy of buying their stocks at the bottom. What are your views on the future of real estate? I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you for your likes and subscriptions, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next exciting share.